Have you ever had a moment of total doubt? Where you looked at the world and thought, does anyone really know the truth? Well, over 2,000 years ago, a powerful and brilliant Greek king named Milinda did more than just wonder. He declared it. He looked at all the philosophies and teachers in his kingdom and proclaimed, it's all empty. No one is truly awake. No one really understands. His doubt wasn't just a whisper, it was a royal decree that shook the very foundations of faith. If a king says wisdom is barren, what hope do the people have? But a response was coming, not from an army, but from a force of enlightenment. Now to understand how extraordinary this moment was, we need to step back. Our Buddha, Gautama Buddha, lived a remarkably short life for a Buddha, just 80 years, teaching for 45. Ancient Buddhas lived for tens of thousands of years. Their teachings endured for ages. By contrast, we live in an age of short lives, and yet the incredible promise is that Gautama Buddha's true Dhamma will last for 5,000 years after his passing. For 5 millennia, people can still find the path and reach liberation. So when King Milinda made his bold claim, it wasn't just a personal opinion, it was a challenge to that living, 5,000-year light of the Dhamma, and the light was about to answer.
In this world there is no one who truly knows, no one who understands, no one awakened. All is empty.
Word of the king's doubt reached the pure abodes of the enlightened. An assembly of Arahants saw the danger. This doubt could harm many. They decided to send a defender. But here's the fascinating part. Even with all their supreme attainments, their direct knowledge of Nibbana, their higher powers, this particular task was outside their scope. Unraveling this specific knot of doubt required a unique blend of panna, razor-sharp wisdom, and the skill of a master debater. Only one being was the perfect instrument for this task, the Venerable Nāgasena. To the court, a minister kneels before the anxious king.
Your Majesty, please steady your heart. You feel that no wise one exists on this earthly plane. But I bring certain news. The great elder, Venerable Nāgasena, has just arrived in our realm.
Now Nagasena was a legend. His fame echoed in the human world and the heavenly realms. He was known as the unbeatable explainer, the one who could untangle any complex point of Dhamma with breathtaking clarity. He was an Arahant, one who had finished the path. His wisdom was so vast they said he could debate Sakka, the king of the Devas, or even a great Brahma, without a flicker of fear. He spoke to them as an equal. Back to the king. His proud demeanor is gone. He looks visibly shaken.
Nagasena.
This was the miracle. This king had debated and dismissed the famous teachers of his time without a second thought. But merely hearing the name, Nagasena, now, it struck him to his core. His body trembled. Goosebumps rose on his skin. It wasn't fear of a man, but an instinctive awe of the immense spiritual power and truth that name represented. Yet his brilliant, inquisitive mind burned even brighter. King turns urgently to his minister.
Minister, where does this Venerable Nāgasena reside?
Your Majesty, he is already within our city. He rests at the Sangha Parivina monastery.
And so the stage was set. The king of debate, armed with piercing questions and royal authority, was about to meet the king of Dhamma, armed with unshakable truth and matchless wisdom. What would the king ask? How would Nagasena respond? This wasn't just a meeting. It was the clash that would create one of the greatest treasures of Buddhist literature. So the king is shaken, but determined. He's heard the name Nagasena, and now he has to meet him. This isn't just curiosity anymore. It's a need to resolve the storm of doubt inside him. Back to the king's court. He's addressing his minister, urgency in his voice.
Then you, minister, act swiftly. Send a royal messenger at once to Venerable Nāgasena. Inform him that King Milinda of Sagala has profound questions on karma and wishes to meet with him for dialogue.
Notice that the king doesn't command Nagasena to appear before the throne. He requests a meeting. He specifically mentions karma action and its results. This is the core of his doubt. If no one is truly wise, how can karma be real? How can anything matter? This is the first sign of the king's true intellect. He isn't just throwing out an insult. He's bringing a specific heavy question to the table. The messenger rushing to the serene monastery. He bows low before a calm, composed figure we understand to be Nagasena.
Venerable Sir, His Majesty the King wishes to come in person to pay homage and engage in Dhamma discussion with you. Does your venerability grant permission?
Now, here's a beautiful point of Dhamma protocol. Nagasena's entire purpose for coming down from the celestial Himavanta mountain was to advise the king. But the Dhamma isn't desperate. It doesn't chase after people. It stands firm and open, waiting for the sincere seeker to approach. For the king to come to him preserve the dignity of the teaching. To rush to the palace unasked would be like a teacher begging a student to learn. The student must first show the desire. So Nagasena waits, and his permission is the first act of teaching. Back to the palace. The messenger kneels before the king.
My lord, Venerable Nāgasena resides at Sanghaya Parivana Monastery, and he has granted you permission to visit as an honored guest.
A grand preparation. The king's glorious chariot, gold and white, is readied. A procession of 500 ministers begins to move through the city. The king doesn't hesitate. He prepares his most splendid royal chariot. He brings 500 of his brightest minds with him. This is a state visit. He is, in his heart, approaching a sovereign of wisdom. The royal procession arrives at the monastery gates. The king steps down, expecting to see a single elder. He looks up and freezes. His eyes widen, and then he sees it. The sight that would stun any person, any king on earth. The king's eyes across a vast, serene assembly. Thousands of Arahants are seated in perfect peace and stillness.
My lord, who does this vast Sangha belong to? How can there be so many bhikkhus assembled here?
Your Majesty, this is the retinue, the noble assembly that accompanies Venerable Nāgasena.
In that moment, King Milinda's understanding shifts completely. He thought he was coming to debate a single wise man. But he wasn't. He was approaching a field of power, a living monument of enlightenment. These 80,000 Arahants weren't just followers. They were the living proof of the very Dhamma the king had called empty. This was Nagasena's first lesson, before a single word was exchanged. True wisdom is never alone. It exists within a community, a lineage, a living truth that spans worlds. The king's intellectual pride met a silence more powerful than any argument. He was in the presence of the Sangha, one of the greatest gems. Now humble and awestruck, he must walk into that silence and find the elder at its heart. Imagine walking into a room, ready for a debate. You've prepared your arguments. You feel confident. And then you look up, and the room isn't a room. It's a vast plain, and it's filled, as far as you can see, with beings of perfect peace and boundless wisdom. That's what happened to King Milinda. The king standing at the entrance of the monastery courtyard. The sight of 80,000 Arahants didn't just surprise him. It didn't just impress him. It unmade him. His mind, so sharp and logical, started spinning with comparisons. He felt like a single strong elephant, suddenly surrounded by a herd of rhinoceroses. A majestic Naga king, circled by swooping garula birds. A tiger facing a stampede of wild buffalo. The king's face. A bead of sweat rolls down his temple. He tries to reassure himself, whispering internally,
No, an elder cannot harm me. Athera has no power to hurt me.
But logic couldn't save him from this feeling. This was a fear deeper than the battlefield. In war, he'd never trembled. But here, facing not violence but vast, silent truth, his mind shook. He realized something in that moment. A crushing, humbling realization. As the king's inner voice, this is what it must feel like for a deva whose panna is almost spent. The heavenly light starts to flicker. The body trembles. A cold sweat flows, knowing the fall is coming. Without asking a single question, I already know. Today I lose. My day of reckoning has come. This is the power of the true Sangha. It's not a political show of force. It's a mirror. When King Milinda looked at that ocean of awakened beings, he didn't see enemies. He saw a reflection of what he lacked: genuine peace, unshakable virtue, and the weight of real wisdom. His 500 ministers, they were nothing here. A small stream next to an ocean. And Nagasena hadn't even called his full assembly. Imagine that. This was just those who came naturally. The king understood now. This wasn't a contest he could win with clever words. He had walked into the domain of Dhamma itself, and Dhamma was about to answer. So the king is humbled, awestruck, but still a king, and a brilliant mind. He's not going to just surrender. He's going to test the waters first. He turns to his minister and says something profound. The king, still standing at the edge of the vast assembly, speaks quietly to his minister.
You need not point out which elder is Nagasena. I shall recognize him with my own eyes.
This is his first act of intuitive wisdom. In a sea of identical robes and calm faces, how do you find the source? not by a description, but by seeing the quality of the mind itself. The king's gaze sweeps across the silent Sangha. A sense of recognition dawns on his face.
That one is Lord Nagasena.
Exactly so, Your Majesty.
The king approaches.
Venerable Sir, may I, with your permission, ask a few questions? May I engage in Dhamma discussion with your venerability?
We hear the reply, calm and clear, from the seated elder.
May you be blessed, great king.
Permission granted. The stage is set, and the king, ever the strategist, decides to start with a feint, a trick question, an empty move to test his opponent's reflexes.
Venerable Sir, with your permission, I would like to ask a question.
May you be blessed, great king. I am listening.
Very well. I have asked. Now please answer.
A beat of silence. The ministers hold their breath. Then Nagasena replies, utterly unperturbed.
I have already answered, Your Majesty.
The king's smirk vanishes. He's confused, caught off guard.
What do you mean? How have you answered?
Great king, how did you ask?
Checkmate on the first move. The king threw a blank, a question with no content, and Nagasena reflected it right back. He's teaching, communication isn't just about words. Your intention to ask, your posture, your silence while waiting, it's all part of the dialogue. Nothing is empty. Everything has meaning and consequence. That's a fundamental lesson on karma right there. The 500 ministers cheer. They prostrate toward Nagasena, then turn to their king urgently.
Your Majesty, please do not delay. Ask your true questions on karma, on Dhamma.
They see it. An ordinary person would be trembling before the king. But here, the king is the one being schooled in the basics of meaningful speech. Nagasena's clarity comes from a place beyond fear. King Milinda takes a breath. His tone shifts from testing to genuinely respectful.
Venerable Sir, before I pose my questions, it is only proper that I know your name. What is your name?
May you be blessed, great king. My name is Nagasena. To my teachers, I am Nagasena. My parents called me Surasena. Others have called me Vidasena or Sihasena.
The meanings. One who does no harm. The valiant one, courageous resolve, lion-hearted. Beautiful, powerful names. Lord Nagasena continues, his voice taking on a deeper, more instructive tone.
Yet, Your Majesty, understand this. These are only conventional names, mere labels. In ultimate truth, there is no Nagasena to be found. No permanent self resides in this name. It is simply a name, nothing more.
And there it is, in his very first real answer. Before the debate even properly starts, Nagasena delivers a knockout punch to the king's entire worldview. The king asked for an identity. Nagasena gave him a list of labels, and then immediately pulled the rug out. It's all just a convenient designation. The person you think you're talking to ultimately isn't there in the way you think. He's not just giving his name. He's introducing the king to the core teaching of anattā, not self. The debate hasn't even begun, and the king's fundamental assumption that he is debating a solid permanent self, called Nagasena, has already been gently, brilliantly challenged. The king came to ask about karma, but first he needs to understand who exactly is the one doing the actions. That first gentle lesson on not self was like a pebble dropped in a pond. Now the king reacts, and he reacts with the full force of a logical worldly mind. He sees a problem, a dangerous problem, in what Nagasena just said. The king's expression shifts from respect to sharp, concerned challenge.
What do you mean, Venerable Sir? Why do you say there is no being, no person, no Nagasena at all? Are you denying your own existence?
The king is attacking what he sees as a contradiction. If there's no self, then nothing matters. This is the classic challenge to the teaching of anattā. He's defending the common sense view of the world. Of course, you exist. I exist. That's what makes life real. And he goes for the jugular with practical consequences. The king's voice becomes more forceful.
If Nagasena does not exist, then who receives alms? Who eats? If no you exists, then those who offer to you make no panna. And if someone were to kill you, since there is no you, they'd incur no bad karma. By your logic, even one who kills their own mother or father would not be doing evil. Is that what you're saying?
This is it. The king has framed a teaching of not self as a license for nihilism. If there's no self, then morality, karma, and responsibility collapse. It's a brilliant, devastating argument. He thinks he's cornered Nagasena, so he tries to spring a trap. The king leans in, pointing a rhetorical finger.
Venerable Sir, Do you hear me speaking?
May you be blessed, great king, I hear you.
Exactly. You hear. So Nagasena exists. You just admitted it.
Great king, it is not Nagasena who hears.
This is the pivotal moment, the turning point. Lord Nagasena reply, it is clear and precise. What hears is not a being, not a person. What arises is ear consciousness. It is dependent. It needs the ear base and a sound. When these conditions meet, hearing occurs. There is no permanent self behind the act, only elements and aggregates arising and passing away in a chain of cause and effect. So when I say I hear, it is a conventional expression we use in the world, not a statement of ultimate truth. Do you see the brilliance? Nagasena isn't denying the experience. Of course, hearing happens. He's denying the misinterpretation of the experience. His speech, don't confuse the process with a person. Think of it like a fire. We say the fire burns, but the fire isn't a thing. It's a process, fuel, heat, oxygen coming together. When the conditions stop, the fire is gone. There's no permanent fire entity hiding inside the flames. In the same way, hearing is a process. Ear plus sound plus consciousness equal to hearing. No separate solid hearer is found. The Arahants in the assembly understood this deeply. They saw it in their own meditation. Hearing is not a hearer. Seeing is not a seer. Thinking is not a thinker. But the king, he's still looking for the solid, lasting thing behind the action. He hasn't seen the process yet. Nagasena has just defended the heart of the Dhamma without denying the reality of karma. In fact, he's showing that karma only makes sense in a world of dependent, impersonal processes, not in a world of solid, unchanging selves. The king came to ask about karma. But first he's being shown the very nature of the one who does karma. The king didn't get it. He heard Nagasena say it's not I who hears, and thought it was a word game, an evasion. But the Arahants in that assembly, they felt the truth of it. In their own direct experience through meditation, they saw, hearing arises, but no hearer is found. Seeing happens, but no seer stands behind it. So the king changes his tactic. If Nagasena won't admit to being the hearer, maybe he'll admit to being the body. He launches a systematic logical assault.
Is your hair Nagasena?
No, great king.
Your nails? Your skin? Your bones?
No, great king.
He goes through all 32 parts of the body. Nothing is Nagasena. Then he moves to the mind. The 5 aggregates form: feeling, perception, mental formations, consciousness. As Lord Nagasena replied, none of them. The king, clever and well-studied, goes deeper into Dhamma categories, the sense bases, the elements, the subtlest material groups. It's a full philosophical interrogation. And to every single question through this entire breathtaking inventory of body and mind, Nagasena's answer is the same calm, clear, no, great king, that is not Nagasena. And this is where the king believes he has won. He's backed Nagasena into a corner of pure logic. The king stands, his voice booming with righteous accusation, addressing the entire assembly.
Hear me, all 500 ministers, you are my witnesses. And you, Venerable Lord 8000, be witness for me as well. At first, this elder declared, my name is Nagasena, but now, when I ask if anything, hair, skin, consciousness, any part is Nagasena, he denies it all. Therefore, his first statement and his last contradict. This bhikkhu speaks falsehood. He deceives. He is a fraud.
Think about the power of that moment. The king of a realm in front of tens of thousands has just publicly called an arahant a liar and a fraud. He's laid out what seems like an airtight case. 1. You claim the name Nagasena exists. 2. You deny that Nagasena is any of the parts that make up you. 3. Therefore, Nagasena is a fiction. You lied. It's the classic dilemma. If the whole isn't the sum of its parts, then what is the whole? The king is utterly convinced there is no third option. Now an ordinary person, accused like this before such an audience, would crumble. Their mind would shatter with fear and shame. But Venerable Nāgasena, his heart was steady as a mountain, unmoved as a granite peak in the fiercest storm. Not a single tremor. Why? Because he wasn't defending a lie. He was about to reveal a truth the king had overlooked entirely. The king was looking for a thing called Nagasena. Nagasena was about to teach him about a process. The trap wasn't around Nagasena. The trap of believing in a solid, findable self was around the king's own mind, and Nagasena was holding the key. So the king has made his devastating accusation. Liar, fraud. The tension is unbearable. And how does Nagasena react? He doesn't react with anger or fear. He looks at the king not as an enemy but as a mother looks at her crying, confused child. His heart is filled with metta, loving kindness. He sees a brilliant mind trapped in a net of its own wrong views, lashing out from sheer confusion. His goal isn't to win a debate, it's to liberate. Lord Nagasena remains silent. The silence stretches. The king's angry energy begins to dissipate in the face of this profound calm. He waits. 1 minute. 2. He lets the king's emotional storm pass. A wise teacher knows you can't teach someone who is drowning in their own agitation. You have to let them reach for the shore first. Then, he speaks. And not to defend himself. He asks the most gentle, unexpected question.
Great king, you have journeyed all day under the blazing sun. The road here is rough. You must be weary, and when the body is tired, the mind grows restless. May I ask, did your majesty arrive on foot, or by vehicle?
Venerable sir, I came by royal chariot. I left it at the gate and walked a final stretch to pay my respects.
And there it is, the opening, the perfect, everyday example that the king, a man of the world, cannot deny. Lord Nagasena turns to address the entire assembly, his voice now clear and carrying.
I ask you all, ministers, Arahants, to be my witnesses. His Majesty states he came by chariot. Now, great king, I shall ask you, what precisely is the chariot? Is the axle the chariot?
No, it is not the chariot, venerable sir.
Are the wheels the chariot?
No, it is not the chariot, venerable sir.
The chassis, the pole, the yoke, the reins, the banner.
None of these is the chariot, venerable sir.
Then is the chariot something apart from all these parts?
No, it is not the chariot, venerable sir.
And silence. The king has just logically dismantled his own chariot. He has stated, 1. The chariot is not any of its individual parts. 2. The chariot is not something separate from all its parts. So, where is the chariot? Do you see it? The trap the king set for Nagasena. Nagasena just led the king to walk into the exact same trap with his own chariot. The king accused, you say you are Nagasena, but Nagasena isn't in any of the parts. Therefore, you are a lie. Nagasena replied, you say you came by chariot, but the chariot isn't in any of the parts, nor is it separate from them. Therefore, is your chariot a lie? Lord Nagasena hasn't argued, he's demonstrated, he's held up a mirror to the king's own logic. Chariot is a conventional label, a useful designation for a collection of parts assembled in a specific way. In ultimate truth, you won't find a chariot entity, only axle, wheel, pole. In the same way, Nagasena is a conventional label for a temporary collection of the 5 aggregates body and mind functioning together. In ultimate truth, you won't find a Nagasena entity, only form, feeling, perception, formations, consciousness. One is not a lie. Both are practical realities on one level, and empty of a separate self on another. The king came to challenge the Dhamma with logic, and the Dhamma, through Lord Nagasena, just used the king's own logic to show him a glimpse of ultimate truth. The chariot of Dhamma is now pointing the way forward. And so Lord Nagasena gently turns the question back on the king, not to shame him but to free him.
Your Majesty, you are a noble, truthful king. You said, I came by chariot. Yet you agree, the chariot isn't in the parts, nor is it separate from them. So where is this chariot you speak of? Was your statement a deception?
Venerable sir, I did come by chariots, but I did not mean a chariot exists as a separate solid thing. When all the parts are assembled correctly, the world calls it a chariot. It is just a name, a label, nothing more.
Just so, great king.
There it is. The king has said it himself. He has defined conventional truth, the useful everyday reality we all live by.
Nagasena is not the hair, skin, bones, feelings, or consciousness, not any aggregate or element. Yet when these 5 aggregates arise together in dependence, the world says, this is Nagasena. In ultimate truth, no Nagasena is found, just as no chariot exists apart from its parts.
And to seal this understanding, Nagasena doesn't just use logic. He reaches for the poetry of direct experience, the words of a great female disciple of the Buddha, the Arahant Bhikkhuni Patsatara. She said, after immense suffering led her to awakening, just as fire arises when a fire stick is rubbed, blazing, yet with no owner of the flame, so do the aggregates and elements arise. Here, no being is found, no maker. When subtle thoughts cease, Dhammas simply meet with other Dhammas, and thus the world is born by convention alone. Fire, chariot, a person, they are all the same, a process, a convergence of causes and conditions, a useful label for a flowing changing event. No solid self, no permanent owner, only Dhammas interacting. We see the king's face, the anger, the pride, the doubt, it all melts away, replaced by a profound quiet wonder. He is looking inward, seeing the process, not the person. And in that moment, King Milinda understood, truly understood. He looked within and didn't find a king. He found the rising and falling of body and mind, the seeing, the hearing, the thinking, all impersonal processes. The label Milinda existed, the experience flowed, but the solid separate self he had been defending, it was an illusion. Just like you can find the car in the paint, the engine or the wheels, you can't find the self in the body, the feelings or the thoughts. And with that understanding, the very root of his suffering, the belief in a permanent separate self, began to loosen. The debate wasn't won, it was transcended. The king didn't lose an argument, he gained a glimpse of reality. He came to challenge the Dhamma, and the Dhamma with exquisite kindness set him free. This was just the beginning of their legendary dialogue. But the first and greatest barrier, the illusion of self, had been pierced.